to start with poems that I wrote a while ago. The one was published in Metaphor, which I was very happy about. It came from a series I called The Ugly Animal Sequence. And my family is really big into weird animals and Discovery Channel and all that stuff. So it was really when I first started writing poetry, and I was experimenting with form, which I no longer do. But this is a sonnet, and it's called For the Female Wolf Spider. I also was experimenting with eccentric language at this time, so there's going to be some crazy words that you probably don't know. I use the word zarf, which is a negative connotation for a male. Pukka, P-U-K-K-A, which it means genuine and reliable. And Lulu, which is any remarkable thing or person. So again, this is for the female wolf spider. Towing the blade with a flossulent leg, birthing the youthful sack, 515 Lulus on her back. Within the silk, sipping the yolk from the egg, undermining his life for which he had begged. A zarf in the gut, his will but a taste, serving a duty, then leaving as waste. Swallowed by mother, intentions carnally vague. Her shrine, a self-reflection, soft yet pukka, an abode for the load, the dynasty's haven. Broken through the walls, 20,000 knees emerge, created in her image and perfectly pukka. Death not to a virgin, but a soldier, but a maiden. Left behind a legion, left behind to surge. And the next ugly animal poem is a triolet, and it's been published a couple places, and it seems to be a favorite of some people. The blobfish is this disgusting animal, and he lives like a half mile under the surface of the sea. And the word here I used to describe him is a moo, M-O-U-E, and what that means is a pouting grimace, and you have to look him up because that is exactly what he looks like. For the blobfish, a moo, each day he thwarts, plod wet Tasmania, defiance of a jelly corpse, yet lives. Okay, next one I'm going to read is, I think a lot of artists can relate to it. It's called the writing process, so it's just like the process of creation. For me, it's obviously a process of writing a poem or writing anything for that matter. So maybe you can relate to some of these things. The writing process, or people watching. Don't stare too hard. Don't divert too much. Catch grimy details, mismatching socks, argyle versus a classic anklet, a lazy eye or two, a speech impediment, lisping with thick spit, a phobia of cheese, a phobia of poetry, a bibliomaniac, awkward combinations of words, awkward combinations of sounds, dead tooth. Sit down, stand up, sit down again, lie on stomach, roll around on the ground, think of those awkward words, awkward sounds, dead tooth. Rethink role as writer, contemplate existence. Listen to jazz guitar, play air jazz guitar, shredding like Montgomery, not Matheny smooth. Cut toenails, check bank accounts, sort underwear in color coordination. Murmur under breath, missed pet hermit crab, think of new awkward words, sounds, dead toe. Read poem in foreign accent. Sean Connery, Mary Poppins, Mr. T, John Wayne, Adolf Hitler, well, maybe not Hitler. Use the dictionary a bunch. Replace boring words with impressive ones. Dead carnassials, anesthetized toe. Scrap poem, rewrite poem. Shuffle stanzas. Check for overuse of alliteration, couplets, lovey-dovey crap. Look to dead authors for motivation. When angry, count 4. When very angry, swear. Mark Twain. Is a dismally lonely business, writing. Tony K. Bombara. Reconsider including the word penis for mother's sake. Ignore mother's sake. Add more references to peonies. Not to be mistaken with peonies, the beautiful Asian indigenous flower, but as in more penises. Scrap poem, rewrite poem. Print the pages, gather the stamps, lick the envelopes. Have extra envelopes ready for when the editor's name is misspelled. There is one, not 2 O's in Bob's name from Atlantic Monthly. Stare at the package before setting its sail into the slush of every writer. Begin anticipation. Think of awkward words, sounds, dead load. This next poem was inspired by a creative drought. I just forced myself to go up on the 3rd floor of the Blackmore Library at Capitol, which is pretty barren. No one really goes there, and I thought to myself, if I died up here, no one would. So this book is called Dead in the Library. Dying here for weeks now, bones beginning to dissolve into the tile, skin sagging like wilted begonia petals. Poppies, the flower of death, sprout from my eye cavities, their roots corkscrewing through my brain. I'll keep suffering here, next to audio manuals and personal health books, bindings cracked shut with impossibility and apathy. My organs pulse hard for a moment. Blood flushes out and settles. As for my fingers, my toes, my nose and ears, they've torn and dropped. Death goes from pallid to purple, waxy and unforgiving. But now my soul shifts from the thick, reeking muck that once was my vessel. Ascending from certainty, those books, it's my eternity, the holiness I've kept hidden inside me, behind my lungs, now attainable with a ghostly grip. I'll surpass this imbroglio until someone finds me, reeking muck evaporated into the dryness of the library. A fat treatise, my epitaph, condescendingly clad in scathing pink binding, clinical manual of women's mental health. This poem was recently published in the literary journal out of Kansas or Arkansas, NEBO. It's a great place to try to get published, so just Google NEBO. They took this for their food article, and it was written after I had a conversation with my grandfather, who's 94, and my grandmother passed away about 5 years ago, so he's just, he's lonely, but he likes to reminisce about her, and I love to have conversations about her with him. So this poem is about that, dealing with it. She has been gone now for nearly 5 years. I had to stop to think, stop to count the time on my fingers. And though he's 94, going on an unsteady, on his feet, but strong-willed 95, he remembers the day they met, the flavor of their wedding cake, the unique sound of each of their 4 newborn children. He remembers. It was over dinner one Friday evening, just the 2 of us, at the same kitchen table he's had for decades, covered in bills, pills, and junk mail. The centerpiece, a dusty crystal bowl of dustier waxed fruit. No one knows why he keeps that. I asked him if he's ever tried sushi. The man was born in 1917. served in Guatemala, and saw the world evolve from apes to man. But he's never eaten raw fish wrapped in seaweed. You know, he said, Carol and I went to a wedding in Chicago once. He lifted a forkful of broiled haddock to his lips and talked past the fish. He said, there was a big bowl of shrimp there, and Carol said, oh no, I hate shrimp. And I said, go ahead, try it. So she tried one, and then she had a second, and a third, and then all night she stood there picking at the shrimp, feeding herself like it was going to make her live forever. He pushed the haddock into his mouth and chewed thoughtfully. Mouth full, he went on. And after that, anytime we went out, I'd say, Carol, what would you like to eat? And she'd say, shrimp, I want shrimp. And he swallowed the haddock and smiled at the thought of her, picking all the little pink tails off the meat and dragging it through the cocktail sauce like it'd make her live forever. For my final reading, I'm going to read something that I wrote recently. I'm from Youngstown, Ohio, which is the most gorgeous place in the world. This was inspired by the interesting characters that I grew up with in the city. I think it's like the third cloudiest city in Ohio and maybe in the nation, and like the 9th most dangerous. It's great. Postcards from Youngstown. It's actually in 7 sections. My mother read us stories from a book that had no pages. Reassurance like gutted birds, every word. Nothing but smoke within the binding. His hands are tungsten and nickel, 8 lifetimes at the steel mill, and sooner or later he'll eat grubby harpoons and every side of every humpback whale. All married women are not wives. Sputtered blood cake on the walls, on the front porch between the fat clefts and the heckling sidewalks. She wears her stringy whale tail like a flag above her ass crack. Darkness reigns at the foot of the lighthouse. That was just an old photograph my mother bought for 35 cents at the Goodwill on North Maryland Drive. It once belonged to someone sad, a couch sailor with 8 teeth and a whale tattoo he recalled from a nightmare. The young white boy ran a fat tongue slowly up the chalkboard, imbibing our spelling words like cream. Gesture, holy, right, deceit. His hands firm against the slate, fingers spread and trembling with fleshy cognizance. Silent worms dig holes in walls. I've always had gray hair like campfire smoke, and I've always liked to sleep. My quivering deity pulsed in the black hole universe of the womb, and then I realized I was being born. A bald head is soon shaven, the blade choking on flesh and on its own fat tongue. Being in the right place at the right time sometimes means blood on the floor. Thank you.